Thank you. I appreciate that projection, and we'll look forward to hearing your actual projections. The governor, Senator Hertzberg, raised the issue of housing, affordable housing, and the Assembly and the Senate have both taken up the issue of housing. And I don't see them as being in competition. I actually see them as being, as somebody who's authoring a bill that would actually build teacher housing, I actually think that they're complementary and that we can address the achievement gap if we do both. Have great facilities to learn and make sure we take care of the people who provide the education, the teachers. Anyway, I look forward to hearing your projections about the number of units, because my experience has been that the dollars go so quickly, the need is so great. I think we need to already be thinking about beyond the next 4 years, because we're just falling behind in both housing and in school construction, and I think we need to be looking out beyond the next 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thurman. And I guess remember that schools house children about a third of the day, don't they?
Yes.
Right. With that, Ms. Baker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think Senator Hertzberg has asked some good questions, and they're ones I asked before endorsing this bond, but they lead me to some additional questions and a comment. And this, I think, Mr. Lyons, may be directed to you if you were in those late night, sleepless nights with prior bonds. And when those bonds have happened, was there any presumption that at the end of the years, nothing would change in California there? We've met all of our needs. We're good. We're static. There isn't growth that's exponential in one district, and it's fine somewhere else. Or was this idea that in 4 years, again, you see what the needs are and address them with another bond if necessary, and what that would look like? Because I got an undercurrent from some of the questioning from colleagues that we spent a lot of money on bonds already. Why haven't we solved the problem? As if nothing changes in California, whether it's population growth or where people move. Surely that was part of the conversation back when the last bond was raised.
Yeah, yes, Member Baker, thank you for the question. And it certainly was part of the discussion. And California is a dynamic state. We have population growth, we have household formation, we've got job growth. So there was not at all the idea that this was a one-time effort that would solve the problem of the state. We see this as a critical ongoing infrastructure program to accommodate growth in California, and that's on an ongoing basis. Growth occurs on an ongoing basis, and the program was put together with a public-private partnership so that the dollars would be there when the growth demands or the modernization needs are there. So we envisioned it as a dynamic process.
Thank you. And my next point goes to the question of what's the relationship between the facilities and academic performance, and really it's academic opportunity for our kids. And I can give you a very specific example, and I open it up to you if you'd like to address it. But the town of Dublin in my district is, if not the fastest growing community in the entire state. It's in the top 2 or 3. And it's a tremendous and severe overcrowding problem. A high school that has been recently renovated under the previous bond is probably intended for maybe 2,500, 3,000 students. Last week, demographic studies came out and showed it's going to have 7,000 students in 6 years. And this is where an acre of land is multiple millions of dollars to buy in our East Bay area. In a middle school, where my kids go to school, for example, they can't offer 2 electives. So say someone takes English takes a language, a second language, and music, because there just isn't space to have 2 electives in the amount of teachers they need. When PE has to be indoors because of rain, there isn't enough room for all of the children to have PE. Some have to sit for a while a few for 15 minutes get to engage in the sport. And they had to remove all the lockers on the campus because there's no room for kids to move around. This is a school that is 10 years old and was funded with the local public partnership. And finally, there's something called a prep period, where the kids are supposed to have extra opportunity to check in with the teacher about specific homework needs, a problem with a subject matter, and just work on homework. The kids run to where there's space to have the prep period, and when that space is full, they end up taking a second lunch or a longer PE. You cannot tell me that if you don't have good facilities, your kids are not affected with academic opportunity. Now, yes, I took algebra in a rundown portable. I got algebra. I had a nicer classroom for calculus. didn't get that so much. So it's not a cause and effect, but I think it's important that we realize the depth of how academic opportunity is affected by it. And I appreciate my colleagues for letting me go on this monologue, but this idea came up that there's potentially no connection if there's no hardcore numbers and data. And there is absolutely a connection between academic opportunity and our facilities.
Thank you, Ms. Baker. Thank you, Ms. Baker. I can tell you this. My classroom has never been as nice as any law office I've ever been into. Okay? With that,
Come to
Senator
mine.
Liu. Senator Liu.
Thanks. Cash has made a response to Assemblymember Medina regarding the community college. So that leaves us $7 billion for K-12. How did you, what kind of analysis did you do to come up with that number?
I think we recognize that this bond, after all this conversation, does not have enough money to fund the need that we see in either new construction or modernization.
Well, what do you mean by that? I mean, how did you, what data do you have to?
Well, the 119 school districts that responded with their school facility master plan need is about $23 billion, and that's just 119 school districts in this state. Our sense is that it's not enough money, and so it seemed fair to apportion both modernization money and new construction money equally in that regard. So the $3 billion
so this is just
new.
a bite of the apple.
It
A small bite.
Yeah.
A third of the bite.
Yeah, we need a continuing program. We have backlog, as the LAO referenced, and we're seeing the need to continue the program.
You did an analysis, and I sit in the SAB board, and they have a list of unfunded projects, but projects that have been approved. They have modernization projects that have been identified, applications that have been acknowledged, and same thing with new construction. And they don't come close to $7 billion. They come to about almost $2 billion. So I just was curious as to how you got to the 7.
So that represents projects that have met the requirements to submit for or get in line for funding either on the true unfunded list or on the acknowledged list. So that is work that has already taken place in terms of planning and maybe even moved forward with local money that doesn't recognize the projects.
Happened.
Yeah, that are out there that are waiting to be developed.
I guess the biggest question is that, there was an alternative legislative proposal that was offered, and just out of curiosity, why were you unwilling to consider the alternative?
I think that if you're referencing June, that we felt like we were out of time to get something done.
Okay.
Thank you, Senator. Any other comments from the committee? Seeing no comments from the committee, we'll now turn to the public. You have 1 minute. You could just please identify yourself by your name, your organization, and your comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Mr. and Madam Chairs, and members of the committees. Jeremy Smith here on behalf of the State Building and Construction Trades Council. Pleased to be here in support of this bond, especially the comments made at the last panel. We want to associate ourselves with all those. I'll make 3 quick points. First of all, there's a large amount of money in this bond for CTE. We spend a lot of time in this building getting more career technical education capacity in our schools. This is vital. The second point I'd like to make is that these bonds help the overall economy. During the depths of the recession, it was school bonds, it was local bonds for other construction, it was state construction that kept the construction industry afloat, barely afloat, but afloat. So these bonds help the economy and put construction workers to work. And ensures that during downtimes there are still jobs for them, and it also provides schools for their kids, which are desperately needed as well. And thirdly, I'd like to finish with saying the process for distributing the money is very robust. Maybe it needs some tweaks, maybe it needs some fixes, but to have that oversight over these critical bond dollars, we could use more of that oversight on other bonds and tax credits in this building. It'd be a shame for that to go away. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Joe Dixon, recently retired from Santa Ana Unified. When I was in Santa Ana, we participated in the school facility program very successfully. We passed 2 local bonds. We did a lot of good work. There's still a lot of need in Santa Ana, the second densest city in the state of California. And we just feel it's fair for the urban kids to have the same opportunities as our neighbors in Irvine and Newport Beach. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Don Ulrich. I'm from Clovis Unified Schools. I'm the Assistant Superintendent of Facilities. And before that time, I spent over 25 years as a teacher, coach, and a secondary principal. And I can tell you from my experience, without a doubt, school facilities make a huge difference in student learning. You can see it in their eyes every day they walk onto campus. Just like Mr. O'Donnell testified as a teacher, it makes a difference. Teachers' attitudes, kids' attitudes when they walk onto those campuses. And the point I'd like to make is that we know that in our gut as educators when we teach, when we work in schools. You might know it as community members. But we mentioned a little bit here today, there is a plethora of research that supports that connection emphatically. I just finished a dissertation on that very thing, and I wanted to point out there is research on lighting and HVAC. It's Schneider, 2002, a great research report that specifies exactly what student growth was when you have quality lighting, quality indoor air quality, kids warm in the winter and cool in the summer. So lots of research out there, and I agree with the testimony here today that we should look at more of that testimony that puts some fact behind what we know in our gut. Bottom line is facilities, quality facilities, set the foundation so kids and students can do their best work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Sonia Khan. I am a fellow of the American Academy of Pediatrics, and I hope that it speaks volumes that I need to come and speak about public school construction funding today as a pediatrician. I hope I can answer a few of the questions that were raised today. One of the questions regarding documentation of effects and consequences. I don't have the educational data on cognitive advancement, et cetera, in terms of public school construction and facilities, but I can tell you that I'm on the verge of documenting the negative effects of the current situation as it stands. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the District of Fremont, and this will also answer Vice Chairperson Baker's questions about the high development districts where real property is extremely expensive, and we're talking about high schools in our district that are going to cost $225 million to build, and we do need one according to our school facilities analysis. So in our board district meetings in the last 2 months, we have been having appearances from parents and students from two of our districts, two of our high schools in the district. Our district is very disparate. We have a very high performing district, and we have some Title I schools in our same district. And we've had people showing up talking about just the lack of bathroom facilities alone. The overcrowding situation in some of our schools has gotten to the point where the lineups for the bathrooms at lunch are so long that there is a significant percentage of students now that are returning to class after lunch with a full bladder. And many of them are receiving punitive measures in their first class after lunch if they insist on making it to the bathroom and they come back late. My daughter is a grade 9 student in one of these.
Please summarize.
There's a big picture going on here between developer fees and state-bond facilities. And I think that we need to understand that in districts like ours, if we can trigger level 3 and do a state bond, we can craft into the state bond the ability to help the schools that need it.
Thank you. Remember, 1 minute, please.
Thank you, chairs and members. Moira Top on behalf of the California Charter Schools Association. Well, we're certainly grateful for the fact that charter schools are modestly included in this particular bond act. We feel the need to express some disappointment, and it's been raised a little bit earlier today, with respect to the fact that this bond locks into bond statute in perpetuity the statutes as they existed in 2015, which means there really isn't a significant chance to reform the program. Charters have been part of the bond program for the last decade or so. We've learned a lot in the last decade about how to improve the program, what works and what doesn't work. And it's unfortunate that we don't have the opportunity to really provide additional reform measures through the statute. Nevertheless, we look forward to working with the administration and the bodies, if the bond passes, to find regulatory reforms. Thank you.
And again, I think we're going to be taking a close look at what we can do to expedite the school construction process outside of the bond language, should it pass.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to speak today. My name is Robert Pierce. I'm the Associate Superintendent for the Elk Grove Unified School District. I think the partnership that's existed between the state and the local level over the years has spoken for itself. Over the last 3 decades, we've had a number of bond opportunities at the local level to enhance our facilities and to build new schools. The Elk Grove Unified School District has recently completed a district-wide comprehensive facility master plan. We've identified the need for 52 additional schools in our district. We have 90,000 new homes that have already been approved on land use plans and are actively being developed. So over the next decade, we anticipate significant growth. We talked a lot today about the importance of schools. What I can tell you in Elk Grove Unified, without this bond, we will continue to have elementary schools of 1,400 students, schools that were built for 800 students without the playground space, the multipurpose room space, the library space. We have elementary schools where we're trying to feed kids throughout the day with 5 lunches. We have kindergartners who are on bus rides for upwards of 30 minutes to get to their local school because they can't attend the school in the neighborhood that they built, or they bought at, So this bond will be critical for meeting that need. Developer fees are wonderful. We have a great partnership with our building community, but they are simply not enough to build the schools that we need in our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Chris Crawford from Greenfield School District in Kern County near Bakersfield. It's a school district of about 9,600 students with 12 schools. We're currently over capacity by 1,090 students, and our recent study showed we've grown by 900 students in the last 6 years in a small district. 89% of our students come from low socioeconomic families. We passed a bond in 2006 for $40 million. We only were able to access $10 million. And because of the drop in assessed evaluation, we probably won't access the rest. We're looking at doing a bond measure in November. The most we can get is about $9.5 million, and the school's going to cost over $20 in our area. So it's this state bond is critical for us to leverage our dollars. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Randy Rolls. I'm Director of Maintenance and Operations with the Bakersfield City School District. Bakersfield City School District is the largest K-8 district in the state of California with nearly 31,000 students. Our schools, we have 44 campuses. The average age is 55 years old. We have 4 schools that are over 100 years old in which we're still using the same sewer and water connections that were originally built. And if there was electricity, then we probably would use the same electrical boxes as well, too. But this is the challenge of districts that are post-World War II districts. 55 years old, we have old schools, we're experiencing growth, as well as low assessed valuations or low wealth districts. In order for us to create quality classrooms for our students, the state participation and state bond is critical. We can only generate about $100 million based off the current caps that are in place for a bond, yet we have a needs assessment of over $800 million. This state facilities bond has been endorsed by our board and is critical for our growth and our success in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Rebecca Curley on behalf of the Community College Facility Coalition. We do support the bond, and we think that it will begin to address the backlog of community college projects. I wanted to provide you with some numbers and data associated with the need for community colleges and their projects. On Monday, the Board of Governors approved the 2017-18 5-year capital outlay plan, as well as the 2017-18 spending plan for community college facilities. And they're estimating that the needs over the next 5 years are about $28 billion for community college facilities. And then 10 years out, that number grows to $40 billion. So we know that local bond dollars are insufficient to meet those needs. The Board of Governors approved about $740 million for their 17-18 spending plan. That's for 31 projects, but they are dependent upon passage of the new school bond. 63% of community college facilities are over the age of 25. 49% are over the age of 40. Modernization and renovation is extremely important. And we know that we need about 8.5 million additional assignable square feet in order to accommodate enrollment growth and needs. So this bond is critically important to begin addressing those needs. Additionally, Proposition 30 helped restore access
Please summarize.
Yes, sure. Helped restore access to students. We need facilities funding in order to make sure that those classrooms are available to address those needs. Thanks.
Alejandro Espinosa on behalf of State Superintendent of Public Instruction, Tom Torlakson. The superintendent is committed to meeting the needs of the whole child, and facilities play a key role in that. It ensures that students have access to healthy foods, safe and clean water, and outdoor physical space and open learning spaces. There is a high need for facility resources. Independent studies show that about 33% of our students are housed in portables. 70% of schools are over 25 years or older, and half of those are 50 years or older. As school populations grow, as urban development increases, there's going to continue to be a high need for new schools and improving the already existing infrastructure. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Ana Ferreira with the School Energy Coalition. We support energy and water installations for California students. California school projects are going to be, that may be funded with this bond, are going to be some of the highest efficiency types of installations for schools to date. This is because of new regulations and updates to items like Title 24, and we expect that school districts, because you can find one in almost every community, will contribute statewide to goals for resources, climate change, and energy and water conservation. We believe that schools are waiting for these projects. We know that it's true, and these types of installations will be made possible through the bond funds. And many schools who are smaller and may need and are in disadvantaged communities simply can't make these projects go forward without these funds. So we support the bond. Thank you.
Thank you, members. Mark McDonald, McCallum Group, on behalf of a number of local community college districts, including Kern, Los Angeles, Peralta, Yuba, South Orange County, Mount San Jacinto, Los Rios, and the West Kern community college districts. And I would associate my comments with my colleague from the Community College Facilities Coalition. Our districts believe in the state-local partnership. Many of our districts have passed local bonds, but that does not meet all of the local need. We have believed in the partnership in the past to ensure access locally, and we continue to do so moving forward. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Ryan McElhaney with the Community College League of California, representing California's 72 community college districts. And I would also like to align myself with the comments from the Community College Facility Coalition. There is a significant amount of unmet need in our community college system, and we're dependent on the state to help fund our facilities. So for that, we are supportive of the bond.
Thank you. Jonathan Lightman on behalf of the Faculty Association of California Community Colleges. I'd also align our comments with those of the prior speakers. And just to say that we have representatives on our Board of Governors from the community college districts as far north as Butte and as far south as Southwestern near the Mexican border. And unanimously, they support this initiative.
Good afternoon. Derek Lennox on behalf of two groups supporting the bond today, the Small School Districts Association and the Contra Costa County Coalition of Superintendents. We heard a lot today about the importance, especially to the small school districts, of statewide resources to help complete their projects. We think that need can't be overstated, and so both of these two groups are in support of the bond. Thank you very much.
Brian DeBlanc with the California School Boards Association, and not only are these... I'm here in full support. Our board took formal action to support this bond. Not only are the state dollars vital to our local communities, to our local school districts, but also the eligibility for state dollars and state matching is vital to their ability to pass local bonds. So, thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Jeff Vincent. I'm a researcher at the University of California, Berkeley. I study school construction policy. And we've done a quite extensive body of work in the recent handful of years looking at impacts of school construction spending in California by all school districts to understand equity issues and fairness issues and adequacy issues with that. So I would point you to the resources that we have. It's the Center for Cities and Schools at Berkeley. And we've also looked at the ways in which other states deal with this very important and challenging issue, and would be happy to share any and all of that information with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further public comment, I want to thank everybody for their participation today, and this meeting is adjourned.